First contact, last defense. Captain Nisha Patel stood on the observation deck of the ISS Vigilant, her dark eyes fixed on the viewscreen displaying the vast emptiness of space beyond Jupiter's orbit. The anomaly had appeared 3 days ago, a distortion in spacetime that the ship's sensors couldn't properly categorize. Now, as the distortion resolved into a massive vessel of clearly non-human design, Nisha felt her heart rate quicken. Magnification at maximum, she ordered, her voice steady despite the tension coiling in her stomach. Lieutenant Akaffer, are we recording all of this? Yes, Captain, data streams are being sent directly to Earth Command, replied the communications officer, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. They're asking for your assessment. The alien ship was unlike anything humanity had ever constructed, asymmetrical spires jutting from a central mass that seemed to ripple and shift as it moved, defying conventional physics. Its surface gleamed with an iridescent material that absorbed rather than reflected light. Tell them, Nisha paused, choosing her words carefully. Tell them we are witnessing humanity's first contact with an extraterrestrial civilization and that I am initiating Protocol Handshake. Protocol Handshake had been developed decades ago but never implemented, a series of mathematical and visual signals designed to establish basic communication with any intelligent species humanity might encounter. As the Vigilant began broadcasting the carefully crafted message, Nisha turned to her first officer. Commander Reeves, prepare the ship for immediate withdrawal if necessary. And alert Dr. Nakamura, I want our xenolinguist ready if they respond. The bridge fell silent as the crew awaited any reaction from the alien vessel. Minutes stretched into an hour, and just as Nisha was considering a different approach, the viewscreen flickered. A being appeared, humanoid in basic structure but with distinctly alien features. Its skin was a pale blue-gray stretched tight over an elongated skull. 6 eyes arranged in a horizontal line blinked independently at the camera, and when it opened its mouth to speak, multiple rows of teeth glinted in the light. We are Vrex, the creature said, its voice translated through a mechanical device it held. Your world is now under our protection. Dr. Nakamura whispered, that's not a translation error. It said protection, not conquest. Nisha stepped forward. I am Captain Nisha Patel of Earth. We welcome peaceful contact with your species. When you say protection, what do you mean? Protection from what? The Vrex commander's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. From extinction, your species is primitive, you will serve or be eliminated, there is no third option. The transmission cut abruptly, and before Nisha could process the threat, the ship's sensors blared warnings. Energy surged from the alien vessel, Lieutenant Akaffer shouted. There. A beam of concentrated energy sliced through space, missing the Vigilant by mere kilometers, a warning shot that demonstrated their weapons' capability with terrifying precision. Evasive maneuvers, Nisha commanded, full thrust, get us back to Earth. As the Vigilant's engines roared to life, Nisha knew that humanity's dream of peaceful first contact had just shattered. What followed was 3 days of desperate flight, with the Vrex ship always just behind them, occasionally firing another warning shot to demonstrate their superiority. When they finally reached Earth's orbital defense grid, Nisha transmitted everything they had learned about the aliens. Earth's combined military forces mobilized with unprecedented speed, but the technological gap was immediately apparent. The Vrex vessel easily neutralized the first wave of defense satellites before taking up position in high Earth orbit. In the United Nations emergency session, streamed to Nisha's ready room aboard the Vigilant, now docked at Luna Base, world leaders debated their limited options. We cannot surrender Earth without a fight, argued the Chinese representative. But a fight we cannot win is just suicide, countered her European counterpart. Nisha watched the debate with growing frustration until she couldn't remain silent any longer. She opened a direct channel to the assembly. Distinguished representatives, she began, her image appearing on the chamber's main screen. The Vrex have technology centuries beyond ours, but they have one weakness: arrogance. They believe we're primitive and predictable. I propose a mission to infiltrate their vessel. Not to destroy it, we lack that capability, but to gather intelligence that might give us leverage. Her proposal was met with skepticism, but faced with no better alternatives, was ultimately approved. 48 hours later, Nisha led a team of 6 specialists in a stealth shuttle modified with reverse-engineered technology from the Vrex's own probe, which had been captured during their approach to Earth. Remember, we're looking for their command center and any information about their intentions, Nisha briefed her team as they approached the massive alien vessel. Dr. Nakamura will attempt to access their data systems. Lieutenant Akafer handles communications. Commander Reeves leads defense if we're discovered. Their entry point was a maintenance hatch identified by analyzing the ship's external structure. Once aboard, they moved through corridors that seemed designed to disorient, with shifting gravity and walls that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. "It's like the ship is alive," whispered Dr. Nakamura, running her scanner along a membrane-like surface. "These aren't just lights, they're carrying information." They encountered surprisingly few Vrex crew members, but those they did see were imposing, standing over 2 meters tall with powerful builds that suggested evolution on a high-gravity world. The team used portable cloaking technology to avoid detection, though several times the aliens seemed to sense their presence despite visual concealment. 4 hours into the mission, they located what appeared to be a central data hub. As Dr. Nakamura worked to interface their equipment with alien technology, Nisha felt a sudden shift in air pressure. "We have been watching you since you boarded," came a voice behind them. "Your stealth technology is adequate, your courage is noteworthy." They turned to find themselves surrounded by Vrex warriors, their weapons trained on the human team. Standing before them was a larger Vrex whose ornate armor marked him as a commander. "I am Kalzer," the alien said, "commander of this vessel and overseer of Earth's protection." Nisha stepped forward, placing herself between the aliens and her team. "You keep using that word protection, yet you threaten us with extinction. Protection from what?" Kalzer's 6 eyes narrowed. "From what follows us. From what has already consumed 12 worlds in this sector. We are not conquerors, human. We are refugees staying ahead of a wave of destruction that devours everything in its path." "Then why not ally with us?" Nisha challenged. "Why subjugate Earth rather than warn us?" "Because warning you would be insufficient," Kalzer replied. "Your technology is primitive. Your defenses would fail. Only by controlling your world's resources and population can we fortify it against what comes." Dr. Nakamura spoke up, "And what exactly is coming?" Kalzer moved to a console and activated a holographic display showing a dark mass spreading through a star system, consuming everything it touched. "We call it the Void. It began in our home system when a scientific experiment breached the barrier between dimensions. Now it spreads, converting matter to something else. Not destruction, transformation into something hostile to all life as we understand it." Commander Reeves stepped forward. "How long do we have?" "At its current rate of expansion," Kalzer calculated, "your years, perhaps 20, we intended to use your world as a final defensive position. Your species would serve as labor and, if necessary, additional defenders." Nisha's mind raced with the implications. There must be alternatives to conquest. Our peoples could work together as equals. "A noble sentiment," Kalzer replied, "but one we cannot afford. The Void has taught us that survival requires sacrifice and absolute unity of purpose. Democracy and freedom are luxuries that—" The ship suddenly shuddered violently, alarms blaring throughout the corridors. "What's happening?" demanded Nisha. Kalzer turned to a display panel, his posture stiffening. "Your military has launched a nuclear strike against our vessel. Primitive but more effective than we anticipated. They targeted a vulnerability in our shield configuration." Another explosion rocked the ship. "This changes nothing," Kalzer growled. "It only proves you require our guidance more urgently than we thought." He turned to his warriors. "Take them to holding cells. We accelerate the timetable for planetary pacification." As they were led away, Nisha locked eyes with the alien commander. "This isn't protection, Kalzer. This is conquest wearing a mask of benevolence." "Call it what you will," he replied. "When the Void arrives, you will understand the necessity of our methods." From the holding cells, Nisha and her team could only watch through a view screen as the Vrex launched their first assault on Earth. Precision strikes that disabled military installations around the globe without causing civilian casualties. It was a demonstration of their overwhelming technological superiority and their intent to conquer rather than destroy. Earth's unified defense forces fought valiantly, but were systematically dismantled over the next 72 hours. Cities remained untouched while defense grids, military bases, and government facilities were neutralized with surgical precision. In their cell, Dr. Nakamura worked feverishly on a small device she had concealed from their captors. What are you doing? Nisha asked. Before they captured us, I managed to download a significant portion of their database, she replied, including details about this void they're fleeing. If we ever get back to Earth, this information could be crucial. Nisha nodded grimly. We'll get back, and when we do, this won't be over. As she spoke, the viewscreen showed Vrex landing crafts descending toward Earth's major cities. The occupation had begun, but so had humanity's resistance, conquerors and survivors. 5 years into the Vrex occupation, Earth had transformed beyond recognition. Once bustling metropolises now operated under strict curfews, with alien watchtowers casting long shadows over streets patrolled by mechanical sentinels. The towering structures of the Vrex, massive arcologies that served as their bases, dominated city skylines worldwide, their surfaces rippling with the same strange, light-absorbing material as their ships. Marcus Way moved silently through the underground tunnels beneath what had once been downtown Seattle. At 42, the former software engineer had become an unlikely resistance leader, his lean frame hardened by years of guerrilla warfare. The tunnels, originally built as part of an abandoned transit system, now served as the backbone of the Northwest Resistance Network. "Checkpoint clear," whispered Tommy, a 19-year-old scout whose keen eyesight had saved their cell countless times. "Patrol passed 5 minutes ago." Marcus nodded and motioned for the group to proceed. In addition to Tommy, he was accompanied by Dr. Olivia Tanaka, one of Earth's foremost xenobiologists, and Darius Moore, a former Marine whose expertise with explosives had become invaluable. "How much farther to the laboratory?" Marcus asked, helping Dr. Tanaka over a fallen concrete slab. 2 kilometers, she replied, clutching her worn backpack containing precious research equipment, assuming the tunnels remain passable. The Vrex had destroyed most of Earth's advanced research facilities during the initial invasion, but some underground installations had survived. The Coleman Research Laboratory had been specifically designed to withstand nuclear attacks during the Cold War, hidden beneath layers of concrete and lead shielding that inadvertently masked it from Vrex sensors. "We've received reports from our operative inside Arcology 7, Marcus said as they continued through the dimly lit passage. "Captain Patel and the other prisoners from the Vigilant mission were moved there 3 days ago." Dr. Tanaka's eyes widened. "After 5 years, why move them now?" "That's what we need to find out," Marcus replied grimly. "But first, we need what's in that lab." The Coleman Laboratory had once housed cutting-edge research on alternative dimensions, work that had been purely theoretical before the arrival of the Vrex. Now, with Dr. Tanaka's analysis of fragmented Vrex data smuggled out by human workers in the arcologies, those theories had taken on new urgency. When they finally reached the laboratory, they found the massive blast doors exactly as their intelligence had indicated, untouched by the invasion. Marcus input a complex series of codes on the ancient keypad, and with a groan of protesting metal, the doors slid open for the first time in 5 years. "Power's still on," Darius noted with surprise as they entered the main chamber. "Must be the geothermal backup system." Dr. Tanaka moved immediately to the central research stations, her fingers flying over keyboards as she brought dormant systems back online. "The quantum analyzer is intact," she announced with barely contained excitement. "This is the only remaining equipment on Earth capable of analyzing the dimensional fragments." From her backpack, she carefully removed a sealed container. Inside was a small, irregular object that seemed to shift between states of matter, sometimes appearing solid, sometimes vaporous. "Is that all?" Marcus began. "Yes," Dr. Tanaka confirmed. "A fragment of the void itself, collected by a resistance cell in Beijing when a Vrex containment unit was damaged during transport." For hours, they worked in tense silence as Dr. Tanaka conducted her analysis. Meanwhile, Marcus and Darius established a secure communication link with other resistance cells, coordinating their next moves. Tommy kept watch, ensuring no Vrex patrols had tracked their movement. "This doesn't make sense," Dr. Tanaka finally said, staring at the results on her screen. "According to these readings, the void isn't a natural phenomenon at all. It's engineered." "Engineered by whom?" Marcus asked, joining her at the console. "I don't know, but there's more." She pointed to a complex waveform pattern. "These energy signatures match exactly with readings from something else we've discovered, the ruins in Antarctica." The Antarctic ruins had been uncovered 3 years earlier when the Vrex began extensive mining operations near the South Pole. Ancient structures of unknown origin, buried under the ice for millennia, had briefly been the subject of intense Vrex interest before being abruptly abandoned. A resistance team had managed to access the site afterward, retrieving strange artifacts and recordings that no one had been able to decipher. "You're saying the void and the Antarctic ruins are connected?" Darius asked skeptically. "Not just connected," Dr. Tanaka replied. "I think the ruins were left by whoever created the void or perhaps by those who fought against it. They might contain information about how to stop it." Marcus's communication device buzzed, a coded message from another resistance cell. "We've got a problem," he announced after decoding it. "The Vrex are accelerating construction of something called the barrier. Massive structures being built in orbit. They're pulling resources from every arcology." "The timetable must have changed," Dr. Tanaka said grimly. "The void, it's arriving sooner than they anticipated." Their planning was interrupted by Tomi's urgent whisper from the corridor. "Movement outside, mechanical signatures, sentinels." "Pack everything essential," Marcus ordered. "We need to move now." As they hastily gathered their equipment, Dr. Tanaka downloaded the laboratory's data onto portable drives. "We need to get to Antarctica," she insisted. "Everything points there." "First, we free Captain Patel," Marcus countered. "She's the only human who's spoken directly with Kalzer about the void. We need what she knows." Their escape from the laboratory came just minutes before Vrex sentinels breached the blast doors. Moving through increasingly unfamiliar tunnels, they eventually emerged in the ruins of a suburban neighborhood 10 kilometers from the Seattle arcology. "We'll separate here," Marcus decided. "Dr. Tanaka, you and Tomi head to the southern rendezvous point. Contact the Antarctic team and prepare for an expedition. Darius and I will infiltrate Arcology 7. What followed was 2 weeks of careful planning and reconnaissance. The arcologies were nearly impenetrable, designed not just to house the Vrex but to protect them against any potential human uprising. Yet they had one vulnerability. They required human workers for maintenance tasks the Vrex found too menial for their attention. Using identities created by the Resistance's forgery experts, Marcus and Darius joined a maintenance crew assigned to the arcology's environmental systems. For 3 days, they worked alongside other humans, some collaborators, others conscripts, mapping the structure's interior and locating the detention levels. On the 4th day, they made their move during a scheduled power fluctuation designed to mask their electronic signatures. They found Captain Nisha Patel in a high-security cell, her one strong frame thin but her eyes still defiant. "Took you long enough," were her first words as Marcus disabled the cell's locking mechanism. "Traffic was terrible," he replied with the code phrase that identified him as resistance. "My crew?" she asked immediately. "We're working on it," Marcus assured her. "But right now, we need what you know about the void and about Kalzer." As they began their escape through maintenance shafts designed for robotic servitors, Nisha shared what she had learned during 5 years of captivity. The Vrex weren't a naturally aggressive species. Their conquest of Earth had indeed been driven by desperation. The void was advancing faster than their scientists had predicted, consuming entire star systems. "Kalzer keeps me informed," she explained as they crawled through a narrow ventilation duct. "I think he believes I've accepted their perspective, that I understand the necessity of their actions." "Have you?" Darius asked sharply. Nisha's expression hardened. "Understanding isn't acceptance. Yes, they're facing extinction, but so are we under their rule. Humanity is being worked to death building their defenses while they prepare to evacuate their own people if the barrier fails." "The quarantine has expanded," Marcus told her. "They've cut off all communication with the lunar colonies. No ships permitted to leave Earth orbit. And now they're building another barrier, trying to stop what they started," Marcus concluded. "It won't work," Dr. Tanaka said, pointing to detailed diagrams etched into the walls. "The ancients tried the same approach. These are designs for a barrier almost identical to what the Vrex are constructing. It failed." "Then what succeeded?" Nisha demanded. "These ruins are thousands of years old. Something must have stopped the void then." Dr. Tanaka led them deeper into the complex, to a chamber they hadn't yet explored. At its center stood a crystalline structure that hummed with faint energy despite its age. "This," she said simply, "they didn't fight the void, they surrendered to it, but on their terms." The technology was beyond their comprehension, but the principle became clear as Dr. Tanaka decoded more of the inscriptions. The ancient civilization had developed a method to safely channel the void's energy, accepting its transformative power but directing it in controlled ways. They evolved, Nisha whispered. They didn't resist the change, they shaped it. Armed with this knowledge, they formulated a desperate plan. While the Vrex focused on completing their doomed barrier, the Resistance would seize control of one arcology and use its communication systems to broadcast everything they had learned to humanity worldwide. The operation was set for 3 days later, but fate intervened. As they prepared to leave the Antarctic complex, the ground shook violently beneath them. Through the ice ceiling above, they could see unnatural darkness spreading across the sky. "It's here," Nisha said quietly. "The void has reached Earth." They emerged to chaos. The Vrex barrier had failed catastrophically, its orbital structures collapsing as the void breached the solar system. Emergency evacuation protocols had been triggered in all arcologies as the Vrex prepared to abandon Earth. In the confusion, they managed to infiltrate Arcology 3, fighting their way to its command center where they found something unexpected: Kalzer himself, directing the evacuation. The Vrex commander turned all 6 eyes toward them as they entered, weapons raised. "Captain Patel," he said, his voice remarkably calm, "I suspected you might find your way here at the end." "You're abandoning Earth," Nisha accused, "after everything you've taken from us." "The barrier failed," Kalzer replied simply, "as did all our other defenses on 12 worlds before this one. We have no choice but to retreat and try again elsewhere." "There is another way," Dr. Tanaka stepped forward, displaying the translated inscriptions from the ruins. "The ancients found a solution, not resistance but guided transformation." Kalzer studied the information, his expression unreadable to human eyes. "These ruins, we discovered them years ago but could not decipher their meaning. Our scientists dismissed them as primitive superstition." "Your arrogance blinded you," Marcus said, "just as it did when you conquered Earth rather than allying with us." A massive tremor shook the arcology as the void's influence intensified outside. Portions of the structure began to transform, materials shifting into impossible configurations. "It's too late for this world," Kalzer said, "but perhaps not for others." He turned to a console and transmitted a command. Throughout the arcology, evacuation protocols halted. "What are you doing?" demanded one of his officers. "Saving what can be saved," Kalzer replied. He looked at Nisha. "I was wrong about humanity, your adaptability, your persistence. These are strengths, not weaknesses, qualities my people have lost in our long flight." The Vrex commander addressed his stunned officers. "Adjust evacuation protocols. We will take as many humans as our ships can carry." "And the rest?" Nisha asked. Kalzer's gaze turned to the view screens showing the advancing void. "The rest will need to attempt what the ancients did, transformation rather than extinction." As the arcology systems began to fail around them, Kalzer turned back to Nisha one final time. "In all our encounters with the void, across all the worlds we fled, we never considered that it might not be our enemy but our evolution. That perhaps resistance was futile not because the void was too powerful, but because fighting change itself is impossible." The evacuation proceeded in desperate haste. Only a fraction of Earth's population could be accommodated on the Vrex vessels. Marcus coordinated with resistance cells worldwide, transmitting the ancient knowledge to all who could receive it. In the command center, as the final evacuation ships prepared to launch, Kalzer sustained a mortal injury when a support beam collapsed. As Nisha knelt beside the dying alien commander, he gripped her arm with surprising strength. "We thought we were saving you," he gasped, dark fluid seeping from his wounds. "But perhaps you will save us all." As the void engulfed the Earth, transforming matter and energy into something new and incomprehensible, those final words echoed in the minds of all who heard them. A recognition that came too late, but might yet guide 2 species toward a future neither could have imagined alone. From the Vrex evacuation ships, the survivors watched their blue world disappear into darkness. Not destruction, as they had feared, but transformation into something they could not yet understand. And in that mystery lay both ending and beginning.